Little by little, that Sonnenberg reputation is improving in this chamber. The Senate will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Senators Baisley, Bridges, Buckner, Coleman, Cutter, Danielson, Exum, Fields, Gardner, Janal, Gonzalez, Hansen, Hinrichsen, Jaquez Lewis, Jaquez Lewis,
Excused.
Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Liston,
Excused.
Lundin, Marchman, Moreno, Mullica, Pelton B, Pelton R, Priola, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Smallwood,
Excused.
Sullivan, Van Winkle, Will, Winter, Zenzinger, Mr. President.
Here. Morning roll call is 32 present, 0 absent, 3 excused. We do have a quorum. Will the good senator from Aurora please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Good morning, Mr. President, colleagues, and guests. Please join me in the morning pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, in liberty and justice for all.
Members, today I am very, very excited because we have a special musical presentation from a Colorado legend, the one and only Hazel Miller. She will be singing Shine a Light and Bridge Over Troubled Water. Thank you for being with us.
When you're
Yeah, what do you think, Hazel? Same time, same place next Friday? How about you join us down here for a little bit? Members, we will stand in a very brief senatorial 5. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege by the senator from Woodland Park.
You have heard the motion.
It'd be good to get people's attention.
You probably haven't heard the motion. You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege. Senator Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Folks, you may have noticed I brought with me this morning a constituent of Senator Zenzinger's. Her name is Hazel Miller. Senators, it is not Christmas unless I have heard and seen Hazel Miller sing her Christmas concert. And if you haven't seen that show, you've got to go see that. It's at the Soiled Dove Underground each year leading up to Christmas. Amazing. So also amazing was a dear friend of mine named Matt Wiesner. Matt is the keyboardist that you heard up there in the white shirt. So Matt and his lovely wife, Teresa, and Drew Goodyear and Sarah Goodyear, and my wife, wave in the corner. So the six of us will hang out a lot together, and we are Hazel's groupies across, and Matt brings us along. Everybody else just about that you're seeing over here against the wall is her band. It's an amazing band. If you've not heard this band, oh my gosh. You've got to go see this. So these are all the people that are in Hazel Miller's orbit. So why are we recognizing her? Certainly, and you'll have a chair. Have a chair, everybody. Thank you for standing. Hazel is simply a Colorado treasure. She's an icon. First time I heard her sing was here in Denver, and it was a big band behind her. So she does the big band thing. If you were to Google Hazel Miller and Red Rocks, look at that. Watch that concert with Hazel singing with Big Head Todd and the Monsters. It's just incredible. So what's cool is in 1984, Hazel, who was living in Louisville, Kentucky, where she started, and she was on her way to Los Angeles with her two kids in a U-Haul that broke down on the way to Los Angeles, and thank God it broke down here in Denver. And so she stayed. She stayed. She has been the opening act for Big Head Todd and the Monsters, Herbie Hancock, James Brown, The Temptations, Buddy Guy, Mel Torme, James Taylor, Julian Lennon. She's performed Red Rocks for President Bill Clinton at the White House, for the Denver Broncos to celebrate their 1998 Super Bowl championship. She has awards like you cannot believe, and she's one thing that I only recently learned, just kind of the kind-hearted, wonderful soul that she is, that when the Marshall Fire happened, she sang to try to help those folks out in a concert for them. So she is all Colorado. We are so blessed to have her as one of our own, and so that's what this tribute's all about, is a tribute to Hazel Miller. So Hazel, the Colorado State Senate extends congratulations to you on your impressive career and gratitude for your embracing the Rocky Mountain State as your home. This tribute on the request of Senator Mark Baisley, signed by President Steve Fenberg. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Fields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Hazel Miller is Colorado. She is an icon in Colorado. Now, we know that Detroit has Aretha Franklin. We know that New York has Nancy Wilson. But in Colorado, we have Hazel Miller. Now, before I knew you, I attended many of your concerts that were all around town. Just fell in love with your music and your grace as it relates to how you are able to project your sound, that soulful sound. And then I met you before I was a representative. And now I'm a senator acknowledging you. And I can't tell you how much joy that brings me. So I just want to say welcome to the State Senate. It's an honor to have you here. You have really set the tone for us. So we will have no troubled waters, right, colleagues? Thank you for being here. Love you so much.
Members, let's take a brief recess to welcome and greet Hazel and friends who have joined us this morning. We'll take a brief recess. Where? There he is. The Senate will come back to order. Approval of the journal.
Are we actually good? Are you good?
Doing it? Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of Thursday, March 30th, be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
March 31st, 2023, correctly printed Senate Bills 258 and 259, Senate Joint Memorial 5, correctly engrossed Senate Bill 175, correctly re-engrossed Senate Bills 197, 214, 215, 216, 217, 218, 219, 220, 221, 222, 223, 224, 225, 226, 227, 228, 229, 230, 231, 233, 234, 235, 236, 237, 238, 239, 240, 241, 242, 243, 244, 245, and 246, correctly revised House Bill 1099 and 1185.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege by the Senator from Aurora.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege. Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am requesting a moment of personal privilege
Granted.
on this amazing day. Bridge over troubled water, shine on me. And you know what? We are going to shine a light on someone very special today. And I would like for the Education Committee to join me in the well for this honor. And honorary members. Oh, yes, we have an honorary member, former chair of education. Yes. Chairs. State of Colorado. The Senate and House of Representatives convened in the 74th General Assembly hereby extends congratulations to Katie Anthus on her retirement as CDE Commissioner. The members of the Colorado State Senate and the Colorado State House share their gratitude to Colorado Education Commissioner Dr. Katie Anthus for her leadership as Commissioner since May 2016. Commissioner Anthus has been a knowledgeable and insightful partner to the legislature, implementing the laws we pass with thoughtfulness and working with teachers, schools, and districts and community partners to share issues and needs back to the General Assembly. Our effective collaboration with Commissioner Anthus has made a difference for students in Colorado through legislation to support educators, increase literacy, support school improvement efforts, and expand work-based learning opportunities for students in high school. Commissioner Anthus's open, fair, and collaborative leadership style has supported meaningful and balanced education policy. The Colorado General Assembly is thankful for Commissioner Anthus's leadership, and we will miss her when she steps down this summer. This is on request of Representatives Barbara McLaughlin and Senator Janet Buckner, given this 31st day of March, 2023, State Capitol, Denver, Colorado.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I request a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. Colleagues, I have to admit, I am probably the biggest Katie Anthus fangirl in this room. She is a remarkable leader. She has done a tremendous job for the state of Colorado in leading our Department of Education through some very difficult times, quite frankly. And she has always done it with grace, with poise. She is a thoughtful leader, and she doesn't shy away from digging in and solving problems. The retirement of Dr. Katie Anthus is personally devastating, but I am sure that it is well-deserved on her part because she has held down the fort and done an amazing job with our department. I just want to thank her for her years of service and congratulate her for all of her accomplishments and for all that she has done for our students and families in Colorado. It's truly been meaningful.
Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
I too rise to acknowledge, to praise a leader and a colleague and a friend, Katie Anthus, Commissioner Anthus. When I first went to the State Board of Education, elected in 2010, began serving in 2011, Katie was the Executive Director of the Education Effectiveness Unit at CDE. And she grew through various phases and steps in her professional progression at CDE, every step of the way acknowledging the voice of the board as being distinct from the voice and job of CDE. She is an incredible leader in so many ways in an environment that is challenged and requires incredible sophistication and nuance at times. I would say that Katie Anthus, Commissioner Anthus, was fundamental in the transition of the department from a compliance-oriented department into a service and support organization that provides support to schools, to educators, and ultimately to students whom we all seek to focus on with everything we do. It has been clear in the tone and effort of Commissioner Anthus that at the end of the day, it's about students. She stood in the gap, colleagues, in a time when education across this nation and in the state of Colorado was desperately challenged as we moved through the pandemic, where there were competing perspectives and competing political agendas driven. And she stood in the gap along with her team at CDE and along with the members of the board to find the best possible pathway forward on behalf of the students of Colorado. So I rise to acknowledge a leader, a colleague, and a friend, Commissioner Anthus. I will miss you. The state of Colorado will miss you. I hope we keep you in the education policy conversation going forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Bridges. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. If Senator Zenzinger is the biggest fangirl in the building, I am the biggest fanboy. Dr. Anthus, the conversation we had over ice cream after the signing of the fully funded full-day kindergarten act, the question was, what's next? And you had an answer. It said, well, how about universal pre-K? And it is just always there's something more that we are able to accomplish together, from universal pre-K to fully funded full-day kindergarten to workforce development in our high schools. It is just amazing what you have done in this state over the last few years. And the more important piece is that I don't think there is a single person in the state of Colorado who is more universally admired by the multipolar world of K-12 public education we have out there. People think that it's just bipolar, that there's just two different viewpoints fighting out in education. There are as many viewpoints as there are people engaged in making sure our kids get a great education. And every single one of them. So, Dr. Anthus, you are just admired by everybody. You have done an incredible job. You have navigated this better than I thought would be possible for anyone. And it is a tremendous loss to the state of Colorado that you are leaving us. But it is a tremendous gift to wherever you're going. And you will always be remembered fondly here and always welcome back anytime. Thank you so much for your service to Colorado.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'd also like to welcome several of our elected State Board of Education members who are here today with us, starting first with Chair Rebecca McClellan, Vice Chair Lisa Escarcega, and board members Carla Esser, Kathy Plomer, Rhonda Solis, and Angelica Schroeder.
Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I would just like to introduce, I'm chair of the Education Committee, and I would just like to acknowledge the Education Committee standing up here with me today, starting with Senator Fields, Senator Kolker, Senator Marchman, Senator Rich, Senator Lundeen, and we have Senator Baisley. And this committee is really committed to making sure that every student in the state of Colorado gets the best education possible. And we are absolutely thrilled. And I have to just say a personal statement about Katie Anthus. She has given me some of the best advice over the years. And we have had some of the most impactful conversations. And you're always so fair. You really are fair. Your depth of knowledge is just amazing, and I'm going to miss you, and I know we will still stay in touch even when you are no longer in this position. And she also has many members of her staff who are here with the Colorado Department of Education, and we can't name you all individually, but would you just stand up? Because you have been behind her for so long. Thank you so much. And somebody said that I need to introduce my son-in-law, and I wasn't going to embarrass him, but somebody just gave me this note. My son-in-law also works for the Colorado Department of Education, and that's Dr. Floyd Cobb. And this is the first time I've been able to introduce him to the Senate, and I am so proud of him and the work he is doing for the state of Colorado in the Department of Education. Thank you all for your attention today. And could we just have a moment to greet our guest here today? Thank you.
Of course, the Senate will stand in a recess to greet our guests.
Sitting will come back to order. Committee reports.
March 31st, 2023, the Committee on Appropriations, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 99 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 157 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. With a recommendation, it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 159 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. With the recommendation, it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 160 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. With the recommendation, it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 163 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation, and with a recommendation, it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 186 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 250 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. With a recommendation, it be placed on the consent calendar. Senate Bill 257 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. With a recommendation, be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1022 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. With a recommendation, it be placed on the consent calendar. House Bill 1039 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. March 30th, 2023, Mr. President, the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments. It recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirm members of the Colorado State Fair Authority Board of Commissioners for terms expiring November 1st, 2023. Darius Allen of Alamosa, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 3rd Agricultural District, Agriculture, and as a Republican appointed. Deb Suniga of Greeley, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 2nd Agricultural District and as a Democrat appointed for terms expiring November 1st, 2024. Gail Clapper of Lakewood, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 1st Agricultural District, Agriculture, and as a Democrat appointed. Bill Hybel of Colorado Springs, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 3rd Agricultural District and as a Republican appointed. Thomas Kim of Centennial, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the public at large and as a Republican appointed for terms expiring November 1st, 2025. Michael J. Schleip of Brighton, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 1st Agricultural District and as an unaffiliated reappointed. Michael Angelo Cafaso of Pueblo, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the County Fair and as a Democrat reappointed. Jeffrey Mandarek of Colorado Springs, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the state at large and as an unaffiliated reappointed for terms expiring November 1st, 2026. Aaron Mikulski of Breckenridge, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 4th Agricultural District, Agriculture, and as an unaffiliated reappointed. Nicole Weathers of Yuma, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the 2nd Agricultural District, Agriculture, and as a Republican reappointed. Michelle Renee Brown of Pueblo West, Colorado, to serve as a representative of the County Fair and as an unaffiliated reappointed. March 30th, 2023, the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 255 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendations. Senate Bill 256 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. Senate Bill 204 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. March 30th, 2023, Mr. President, the Committee on Health and Human Services has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirm members of the State Board of Human Services for terms expiring March 1st, 2027. Dr. Elizabeth Loudermilk of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a representative of Behavioral Health appointed. Kay Cowling of Denver, Colorado, to serve as a public member appointed. March 30th, 2023, Mr. President, the Committee on Health and Human Services has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar. Confirmed members of the Colorado Brain Injury Trust Fund Board for terms expiring June 30th, 2025. Jennifer Coker, PhD of Blackhawk, Colorado, reappointed. Jason Kamarski, a PhD of Denver, Colorado, reappointed. Angie Wickersham of Freetech, Colorado, reappointed. Rebecca Wasso of Pueblo, Colorado, reappointed. Veronica Zarlingo of Whitewater, Colorado, appointed. March 30th, 2023, the Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: House Bill 1183 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. House Bill 1077 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 173 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. Senate Bill 195 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions.
The motion is to proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we'll proceed out of order for consideration of resolutions. Consideration of resolutions. Will the clerk please read the title of SR 6?
Senate Resolution 6, Senator Marchman, concerning Military Sexual Assault Survivors Month.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move SR 23006. And would you please read that at length, Ms. Cole?
Will the clerk please read SR 6 at length?
Senate Resolution 6, Senator Marchman, concerning Military Sexual Assault Survivors Month. Whereas sexual assault in the United States of America is a pervasive and devastating issue. It impacts every corner of our society, and it is inexcusable at any time, place, or circumstance. And whereas most sexual assaults go unreported, and the victims of those assaults often go untreated and are left feeling trapped, and whereas military service members in the United States Department of Defense, as well as service members in the United States Department of Homeland Security, have experienced and continue to experience sexual assault, and whereas in August 2022, the United States Department of Defense reported that 8.4% of active duty women indicated an incident of unwanted sexual contact during the year prior to the survey, that 8.4% represents approximately 19,466 women. And whereas the United States Department of Defense also reported that 1.5% of active duty men indicated an incident of unwanted sexual contact during the year prior to the survey, that 1.5% represents approximately 16,617 men. And whereas cadets at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs reported 52 incidents of unwanted sexual contact during the 2021-2022 school year, and a number of reports show increasing incidents of sexual assault and other unwanted sexual contact at military academies across the country. And whereas such behavior is intolerable, especially among those for whom a strict moral code and a cohesive unit are of the utmost importance. Both are adversely impacted by any such egregious acts upon fellow service members. And whereas we commend survivors for their perseverance and celebrate the successes many have had despite their traumatic experiences, and whereas some survivors have established outreach networks to engage with and support other survivors, and some have taken up the mantle of advocating for survivors at the highest levels of both the military and the government, and whereas still others face their daily lives head-on and persevere with grit and determination, carrying out their daily responsibilities in service, and whereas we acknowledge April 2023 as Military Sexual Assault Survivors Month, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate of the 74th General Assembly of the State of Colorado that we, the members of the Colorado Senate, acknowledge April 2023 as Military Sexual Assault Survivors Month in respectful recognition of the struggles faced by thousands of military sexual assault survivors. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be sent to the Colorado National Guard Sexual Assault Response Coordinator, the Air Force Academy, Protect Our Defenders, and Hope After MST.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I took on this resolution because it was something that the representative from Loveland, Hugh McKean, was working on before he passed. And this was important for me to find some things that I could do to support the good work that he had done. And this is a very, very compelling cause, especially since I was born and raised on military and Air Force bases across the country. So I appreciate us taking today and the month of April to draw attention to military sexual assault survivors. They have been through so much traumatic experience, and they've established some outreach networks to engage and support other survivors. Colorado is home to the U.S. Air Force Academy. We're a leader. We have a group there called the Teal Ropes. You'll see some people wearing teal. That's for PTSD. The Teal Ropes are peer cadets at the Academy who work to help victims get the help they need, mental health care and support that they need when this happens, and their peers, so it's easier to go to them. They were not able to make it today, but I do want to acknowledge a couple of people who have traveled here. We've got Paul and Rachel Lloyd, if you'd stand up, please. Their service dogs, Pax and Luca, and then we have Lee Sampson. These are vets. They are, Paul is working hard through his Hope After MST to bring awareness to what military sexual assault victims face. So thank you for being here.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. Military sexual assault and trauma affects members of all genders, but we should also recognize that it disproportionately affects the women in our forces. I've seen some recent studies that suggest that military sexual trauma is now the leading source of PTSD of women in our ranks. That is horrific to me, that coming off of 20 years of continuous combat, that the #1 source of post-traumatic stress for such a critical part of our force is sexual assault from the people who are supposed to be there to protect them, to have their back and fight alongside of them. We need to do better. And for those of you who are survivors, we see you, we recognize you, and I want to thank you particularly for being here and for the work you do to help others in our ranks and other veterans to regain the dignity that they were denied in our forces. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the adoption of SR 6. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, SR 6 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Rodriguez, Fields, Buckner, Cutter, Priola, Sullivan, Bridges, Zenzinger, Janal, Gonzalez, Colker, Exum, Mullica, Roberts, Hanson, please add the president. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege by the senator from Pueblo.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we humans have some pretty basic needs: food, water, shelter, clothes, sleep. But I think we all know that there is a need that is even more important than these. This is, ironically, an even more basic need than the aforementioned ones. It's the need to be seen and accepted, to simply be recognized and afforded equal dignity. That's something that I believe everyone deserves and is worthy of. Today is Transgender Day of Visibility. Today, we pause to recognize the strength, resilience, courage, love, and joy of transgender and non-binary Coloradans who add to the radiance of the tapestry of our communities. They do so at great risk to their jobs, their relationships, their housing, risks to their lives, to live as their true selves with the simple hope of being seen and accepted for who they are. That is a bold and courageous truth. Here's another truth. We as a society are not doing our part. A recent study shows that from 2017 to 2021, homicide rates against trans individuals doubled. The Southern Poverty Law Center counts at least 70 active anti-LGBTQ+ hate groups in the U.S. today. Nearly half of transgender adults report being mistreated by a medical provider, and even more report facing discrimination in housing and employment. More than half of trans individuals have experienced sexual violence at some point. At least 5 in 6 have experienced verbal abuse or harassment in the last year. One of the worst attacks our nation has seen in the last year was perpetrated by a person who ran a neo-Nazi website and brought hate and guns to the Club Q nightclub in Colorado Springs. In 5 minutes, 5 people were left dead and 26 more injured in what was supposed to be a safe and welcoming place for the LGBTQ+ community. Since January 1st, at least 382 bills have been introduced in 44 state houses nationwide, including this state house, that increase discrimination against transgender individuals and communities. In the last year, we've seen transphobia weaponized as a platform for multiple statewide political campaigns across the country. Transgender Coloradans are kids, dreaming of being cops or firefighters or astronauts. They crave friendship, adventure, and knowledge, each of which is best attained in a nurturing, supportive, and safe environment. They are adults, busy with the day-to-day demands of raising a family, professionals who serve in our military and our legislatures, teach in our schools, care for our sick and elderly, bag our groceries at the store, or maybe give us a safe ride home from the bar after an Avs game. Maybe they're a friendly flight attendant for a well-deserved vacation out of DIA. A week ago today, we lost Kaylee Scott. She was 25. She was an avid mountain climber and skier. She was proud of her work as a flight attendant out of DIA. I never met Kaylee, but I've known of her since she first appeared in a viral video produced by United Airlines 3 years ago, where she discussed her transition and encouraged others to be true to themselves and live as they are, and love themselves as they are, whoever they are. We lost her a week ago today to suicide. We have to do better, and we are taking steps to do so. With legislation this session that preserves access to gender-affirming care and laws in recent sessions that eliminate the trans panicked events, allow individuals to change their birth certificates, and require teaching of a more comprehensive history of American civil society that includes minority histories, the LGBTQ+ community's history included, among other legislation. We have a long way to go, but today I want to be clear to the members of our trans community that we are committed to walking that road alongside of you. For a vast number of Coloradans, which grows by the day, you are seen, you are accepted, and you are loved. And living your truth enriches our great state.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you. Humans have a terrible history of hating and persecuting anyone who's different. But what if we didn't? How different would the world be? Trans people are bullied at school, rejected by family, and denied unemployment. They are subject to violence. They are more likely to experience significant mental health challenges. In fact, 82% of transgendered individuals have considered killing themselves. 82%. And 40% have actually attempted suicide. They struggle with feeling a sense of belonging. Transgendered people have faced challenges we can't even imagine. Most of them have had to fight every step of the way to become who they really authentically are, only to then become invisible to much of society. Thankfully, many of our youth today are beginning to recognize there are many different ways of being and expressing ourselves in a free and healthy society. I hope we can all join them. Everyone wants to be seen. When we can all feel happy, healthy, whole, seen, and supported, then the world will be a better place for everyone. Today is Transgender Day of Visibility. To all the transgender people out there, you matter. I see you.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, as a mother of a transgendered child, I have seen firsthand many of the struggles that have been discussed here at this podium today, firsthand, in real time. But I don't want to talk about those struggles. Instead, I want to talk about Soren, and I want to talk about Soren's triumphs. Soren is a remarkable person. Soren graduated from high school at the top of their class. Soren is a compassionate person who strives to become a special education teacher and to work with people with disabilities. Soren is a musical person and was one of the students that was chosen to participate in the Colorado State Honor Choir. And Soren is a competitive color guard member. Their team just won the championships here in Colorado and will be heading to nationals. Soren is an amazing individual. I am very proud of Soren, and I just want to say I see you and I love you.
Senator Janot.
Thank you, Mr. President. And may I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. Along those same lines, and as a member, probably the eldest member of the LGBT caucus here at the state capitol, along with the youngest, probably, I just wanted to remember, you know, I've have a few more years on me than a lot of other members of this caucus. And I've been fighting this fight for a long time for the LGBTQ community. Personally, I just want to say I really came out when I ran for office because I was scared even in the 2010 of losing my job. My family was not very accepting of me throughout my life, and so that was a hardship. But I've been fighting this fight for many, many years, and one thing that I want to bring attention to, and it comes out of an article that I read last night about older transgender people. There is a book, and there is a photography exhibit, or at least there was in New York a while ago, and it's called To Survive on This Shore. And it's by Tess Dugan and Professor Vanessa Fabre of a university somewhere in New York, and I haven't got all that info right here, but what it's doing is it's creating a roadmap, an archive, and a very moving body of work about a group of people that are entirely left out of many narratives. And that is the older transgender and gender variant people. It's easy to forget that only recently have transgender issues become part of our public consciousness. With transgender characters on major TV shows and even transgender celebrities, our transgender people like Sylvia Riera and Marsha Johnson are key figures in the Stonewall Uprising in 1969. Most of you probably weren't even born in 1969. But they've been overlooked, but no more. We wanted to create representations of older transgender people and gender non-conforming people to both capture their stories, preserve their history, record some of the activism that they had been a part of. And we also wanted to create representations for younger transgender people to see a roadmap of what their life could be like, to see people aging and living these complicated and exciting and robust lives in many cases. And one of the common themes that they found interviewing some of these people, I'm going to read just a couple of them for you, but they found that their concerns were uncertainty of the future because of looming medical care and financial insecurity, which have long been sources of unease in our LGBTQ community. And also there are a wide range of feelings about the transition process itself. The most difficult reoccurring themes addressed how much people struggled or missed out because they were unable to be their authentic selves later in life. I was just struck by the extent to which pressure from society can be so damaging to people, so limiting and cause so much pain. In some ways, it's a big deal to transition, and in other ways, it's just a small thing. Your gender identity and expression really shouldn't have this profound an effect on your relationship, your kids, your job, your housing, your access to health care. It simultaneously feels like a major issue and like it should be a non-issue. And I just want to share some of the stories that are in this compendium and also in the book or the documentary. Here's Sky, that's 64, and Mike, that's 55, from Palm Springs. I think the greatest fear for me is the greatest fear for anybody who's in a couple, that my partner will pass away, Mike said. I'm also worried about the lack of nursing homes and long-term care facilities geared towards our community. Another older, Bobby, 83, from Detroit. I think people talk in either or terms, right? Before transition and after. But to me, it's really development. I'm proud of both lives. I'm proud of both me's, if you see what I'm saying. I'm grateful you can't just become a woman with a knife or a pill or anything like that. It takes a whole combination in a sequence and in a formation. You've got this time span. It's a learning experience. It's a little bit of everything. And I'll end on just one other couple. Hank and Sam. Hank's 76, and Sam is 67, from North Little Rock, Arkansas. Hank and I have been together 44 years. I found this one in the Western, meaning their partner, in Western Michigan. She was different from anybody I've ever met in my whole life, and I knew that she would be in my life for the rest of my life. There was this immediate connection that would always be there. The way we are today, we started out that way. Thank you for listening and remembering with me the older transgender folks who have come along and paved the way for our younger generations. Thanks.
Third reading of bills, final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1126?
House Bill 1126, Representatives Ricks and Weinberg, Senator Exum, concerning the inclusion of certain items of information in consumer reports and in connection therewith prohibiting reporting of medical debt information by consumer reporting agencies and prohibiting debt collectors and collection agencies from falsely representing that medical debt information will be included in a consumer report or failing to timely disclose that with certain exceptions, medical debt will not be included in a consumer report.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 231126. And I would like to ask permission for a couple of third reading amendments.
The motion is to allow Will you explain the need for third reading amendments, Senator Exum?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, L1010. We've been working on this bill for quite some time as it's moving through the process, and as you remember, we made a couple of changes during the committee hearing for second reading, and this amendment L010. It establishes a repeal date of 5 years and also a study. And what that study would do would look at consider the impact of the consumers' credit worthiness, access to credit, medical debt burden, economic stability, including consideration of the impacts that this may have on persons of different racial groups, income levels, and then the Department of Revenue shall deliver the conclusions of the study to the Business Affairs and Labor Committee when the bill is repealed in 5 years.
The question for the body is Senator Exum's request for permission to offer third reading amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Permission is granted. Will the clerk please read Amendment L10?
Amendment L010.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Amendment L010.
That's a proper.
Thank you, and I've explained what it does and just asked for an aye vote.
That's a proper motion. Any further discussion on L10? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of L10. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Are there any no votes on L10? Senators Van Winkle, with 31 ayes, 1 no, 0 absent, 3 excused, L10 is adopted. There's an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read J002?
Amendment J002 by Senator Exum.
Senator Exum.
Amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Amendment J002.
To Amendment J002, Senator Exum.
And I'd like to phone a friend in the Majority Leader.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I rise in support of J002. J002 would essentially establish a $200,000 appropriation for the study that the senator from Colorado Springs just referenced. It is a one-time allocation because the study would happen one time. And then there is some roll-forward authority that is included within J002. Many of these changes, including the repeal date and the study on the effect of a person's credit worthiness, is at the request of the governor's office. And so you'll be relieved to know that although this does cost $200,000, the governor's office has offered to take this $200,000 from the one-time priorities that they are advocating for and that have been set aside from the governor's office request that he has made for one-time appropriations. But they are the reason for the prior amendment, and so just want to know that these dollars are accounted for. Want you all to know that these dollars are accounted for.
Is there any further discussion?
Thank you.
Senator Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we are in third reading. This seems like second reading work here, but I'm just trying to catch up to speed here. So we're inserting a study here to study credit worthiness, credit medical debt burden, and its effects on different racial groups and income levels, and then appropriating with this next one, which is before us now, the vote before us now is $200,000 for that study by the Department of Revenue, who I believe, is it the Department of Revenue doing the study? They are? I didn't know the Department of Revenue did studies like that, but okay.
Any further discussion on J002? Seeing none, the motion for the body is the adoption of Amendment J002. Are there any no votes? Senators Van Winkle, Will, Baisley, Rich, Gardner, Mr. Minority Leader, Senators Kirkmeyer, Pelton B, Pelton R, Simpson. With a vote of 22 ayes, 10 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, J002 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Exum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Majority Leader, for your assistance. This bill is, as it's been moving through the process, we've had a number of changes because we've been doing a lot of stakeholding and to help individuals that some of you may know that are dealing with medical debt. 1 in 8 Coloradoans have medical debt, over 700,000 people statewide. And currently, someone cannot afford a medical expense and their bill is sent to collections. That debt, medical debt, may be included in their credit report. This, in turn, can harm a person's credit score. As a result, people with medical debt experience barriers wherever credit reports and credit scores are used. But medical debt is a bad predictor of credit worthiness. Data shows that people with medical debt make on-time payments at significantly higher rates than their credit score suggests. Credit reporting medical debt exacerbates inequities. It also creates barriers like mortgages, car loans, small business loans, rental housing, insurance, utilities, employment. And just so you know, that because this medical debt is not going to be included on the credit report if this bill passes, the medical debt doesn't go away. People are still responsible for it. That was the reason behind Senate Bill 93, to help people with medical debt. Folks with medical debt usually is something unusual that's happened in their life, unexpected illness, unexpected injury. And again, it's not an indicator or a bad predictor of their credit worthiness. And I would ask for, and I vote on House Bill 231126.
Is
Thank
there
you,
any
Mr.
further
President.
discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1126. Are there any no votes? Mr. Minority Leader, Senators Gardner, Rich, Baisley, Will, Van Winkle, Simpson, Pelton R., Pelton B., Kirkmeyer. With a vote of 22 ayes, 10 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, House Bill 1126 is passed. Co-sponsors, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Rodriguez, Fields, Cutter, Marchman, Henriksen, Buckner, Priola, Colker, Mullica, Sullivan, Danielson, Gonzalez. Please add the President. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1185?
House Bill 1185, Representatives Doherty and Woodrow, Senator Rodriguez, concerning procedures relating to the replacement of elected officials.
Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move 1185 and ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the passage of 1185. Are there any no votes? Mr. Minority Leader, Senators Pelton B., Pelton R., Van Winkle, Kirkmeyer. With a vote of 27 ayes, 5 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, House Bill 1185 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Sullivan, Henriksen, Cutter, Fields, Priola. Please add the President. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1099?
House Bill 1099 by Representatives Vigil and Weissman and Senators Fields and Exum concerning tenant screening documentation for residential leases.
Senator Fields.
Mr. President, we move House Bill 231099 on third reading and final passage.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of House Bill 1099. Are there any no votes? Mr. Minority Leader, Senators Gardner, Rich, Baisley, Will, Van Winkle, Simpson, Pelton R., Pelton B., Kirkmeyer, Janal, Zenzinger. With a vote of 20 ayes, 12 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, House Bill 1099 is passed. Co-sponsors, Mr. Majority Leader, Senators Rodriguez, Buckner, Priola, Cutter, Henriksen, Gonzalez. Please add the President. Will the clerk please read the title, Senate Bill 175?
Senate Bill 175, Senators Hawkes, Lewis, and Rich, Representatives Bazenaker and Taggart, concerning the use of tax increment financing by downtown development authorities and in connection therewith creating automatic extensions of the periods during which a portion of property tax revenues may be allocated to finance projects of an authority.
Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. President Pro Tem, and I move for the final passage of Senate Bill 23-175.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 175. Are there any no votes? Senators Gonzalez. Mr. Minority Leader, Senators Baisley, Pelton R., Van Winkle, Pelton B., Kirkmeyer. With a vote of 25 ayes, 7 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, Senate Bill 175 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Zenzinger, Janal, Priola, Fields, Hansen, Marchman, Buckner, Finberg. Please add the President.
Probably will.
General orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself in Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Marchman will take the chair.
Awesome. The committee will come to order, and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title of all the bills on the general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar?
Senate Bill 180, Senators Cutter and Baisley, Representatives Citone and Weinberg, concerning changes to the state's payroll system to codify certain pay periods for state employees. House Bill 1062, Representative Morrow, Senator Henriksen, concerning the authority of a metropolitan district to levy a sales tax with voter approval for the purpose of providing parks or recreational facilities or programs. House Bill 1015, Representative Byrd, Senator Liston, concerning the taxation of tobacco products.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the passage of all the bills on the second reading consent calendar and their associated committee reports, which includes Senate Bill 180 and the associated Business, Labor, and Technology Committee report, House Bill 1062, and House Bill 1015 and the associated Finance Committee report.
Is there any discussion on the committee reports? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the committee reports on the general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 180 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bills 1062 and 1015 as amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 23-180 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 23-1062, House Bill 23-1015 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Bless you.
General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself to committee of the whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Marchman will take the chair.
The committee will come to order, and the court rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title? Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 178 lay over until Monday, April 3rd.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 178 to what day? To April 3rd, Monday, April 3rd. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 178 will lay over until April 3rd. Will the clerk please read the title to SB 2320?
Senate Bill 20, Senator Coleman, concerning the timely issuance of a certified death certificate.
Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 20. And the Health and Human Service Finance Committee reports.
To the Health and Human Services report.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The Health and Human Services report ultimately did two things: required that all persons who were involved in completing death certificates would use the EDR system, electronic death registration system, and then it also clarifies that the funeral director's timeline begins when they have custody of the decedent. I ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Is there any discussion on the committee report? Oh, you already did it. Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of the Health and Human Services Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Health and Human Services Committee report is adopted. Senator Coleman.
To the bill.
Oh, this is to the Finance Committee, I'm sorry.
To the Finance Committee report. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we removed language stating that CDPHE must issue completed death certificates, and also created a deadline exemption for any qualified individuals who find that additional time is necessary for a proper inquiry to determine the cause and manner of death. So I ask an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Finance report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Coleman.
There we go. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this bill standardizes the process for filing a death certificate. It sets the time in which qualified individuals must complete their responsibilities in processing the death certificate to 72 hours, and it creates an enforcement mechanism to prevent unnecessary delays in processing death certificates. That said, I have an amendment.
There's an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read Amendment L014?
Amendment L014 by Senator Coleman, amending the Finance Committee report dated March 28, 2023,
Senator
page 1.
Coleman.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Members, we ran a number of amendments to make sure that we got this bill right. We had a lot of stakeholders involved. There was one amendment that we did not run out of request of the committee. It was Amendment 12, which is now Amendment 14 on the floor. It is the enforcement mechanism. Prior statute asked that responsibilities be completed in 48 hours, but it was unenforceable. This creates an enforcement mechanism between DORA and the state registrar to address any untimely delayed death certificates. The reason why we didn't run this amendment in committee was because we had already had support from CMS and the physicians in support of an enforcement mechanism, but unfortunately they weren't able to come and testify in committee as to why they personally support the bill with this amendment. With this amendment, CMS has been lobbying in support of the bill. The enforcement mechanism, as introduced, the bill had two issues that gave them pause: the time frame for completion of the certificate, including how to identify the appropriate physician to sign it, and the enforcement mechanism. And in having worked with them, this amendment addresses the physician concerns, and I ask for an aye vote on L14. And I move the amendment because I have not been here for 7 years and did not know to do that, which I should.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Coleman. Senator Mullica.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the good senator from Denver. This did come up in Finance Committee, and just want to give a lot of thanks to the senator from Denver for putting in the work and the stakeholding. We were able to check in and speak with the physicians, and this obviously gets them to a comfortable space, and I think it's important to have that buy-in, and so thank you to the good senator from Denver. I ask for a yes vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of Amendment L014. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Amendment L014 is adopted. To the bill. Senator Coleman.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I ask for an aye vote.
Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So colleagues, we heard this bill in Finance last week with a couple of challenges. Happy to hear that the Medical Society ended up in support of, but it still raises some questions. The current standard is a 5-day period to respond. And under the bill now, I think it's now 48 hours. And look, in rural Colorado, having access to the coroner and or a physician is problematic to do that in that short time period. And the other issue was, it's even included in this amendment, a physician's repeated or willful failure without reasonable cause to comply with the timely completion of a medical certification for a death certificate in accordance with this subsection constitutes unprofessional conduct. That's pretty heavy-handed, and I think about my circumstances. My 97-year-old grandmother passed away over a year ago at home. I'm not sure who we could even identify her physician to contact was. I believe she wasn't suffering from any illness, so she was seeing a cardiologist in Colorado Springs and probably a physician's assistant at home. I believe there's just some nuances and complexity in the bill that's problematic for me, and I think for rural Colorado. The timing is really going to be difficult to get response and be compliant in that short time period. I ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Oh, I'm so sorry. Senator Kirkmeyer. I'm sorry, my first time. You're fine. Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize. I was trying to get here. Sorry. Members, I urge a no vote on this bill. I understand that we're trying to get to timely information for families, get the information out to them. That's a laudable goal. Not opposed to that. But this, taking it from 5 days to 48 hours, puts undue pressure and concern and just the ability to fulfill this by coroners is going to be dramatically hard, whether they are in rural Colorado or in any part of our state. A lot of our coroners have to have for example, in Weld County, there is a contract that is in place with a pathologist to get this work done. So a lot of times our elected coroners, remember they're elected in most counties, don't have this ability to just go get this done and do it themselves. If they have a mass casualty event, if they have an accident that has 3 or 4 individuals involved, if they go to a home where maybe meth was involved or drugs, it just takes longer to get the death certificate and to get the information through the autopsy so that they're getting the correct information for the families. How bad would it be if the coroner had to rush to meet this time of 48 hours and they weren't able to give the member of the family the actual cause of death? If they had to put questionable because they didn't have time to get the autopsy completed. I mean, again, I can appreciate that we want to get information out to families as quickly as possible and loved ones, and they deserve to know as quickly as possible. But there are just times that this is not going to be possible to get this accomplished within 48 hours. There are just going to be those times. So I guess my question would be, if that happens, if there is numerous deaths, if there are things that are occurring, throughout a county that is 4,000 square miles, that they can't get done within 48 hours, get to this point, is there something that can be adjusted so that the coroner doesn't get slapped with unprofessional conduct? Thank you.
Senator Janal.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to the good senator from Weld County. I just want to say that in the amendment, if there's some situation that warrants more than 48 hours, it can be 72 hours. The other thing I wanted to stress is that with the electronic reporting, that should make it easier. So between the electronic reporting and the 72-hour time frame, that should make it reasonable for everyone in every corner of the state. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Will.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And one of my coroners from my local counties came and testified. I heard this bill in committee, and the coroners in rural Colorado are saying this just isn't necessary. It's going to be a burden to them, and so I request a no vote for rural Colorado. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Absolutely. Senatorial 5. Is James ready?
Just say, is there further discussion?
Is there any further discussion?
Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of SB 20. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Majority Leader Moreno. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the body is to rise and before the committee is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
The Senate will come to order. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and considered a bill. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 20 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered, engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 178 laid over until April 3rd, 2023, and retaining its place on the calendar.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 2320, as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 178 laid over until 4/3/2023 and retaining its place on the calendar. Special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
I gotta make the motion first.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up the following bills on special orders, second reading consent at the hour of 11:07 a.m. Senate Bill 157, 159, 160, 163, 250, 257, and House Bill 1022. Colleagues, the calendar has been printed and is on your desks. These are the bills from appropriations this morning.
The motion is that the Senate take up Senate Bill 157, 159, 160, 163, 250, 257, House Bill 1022, on special order second reading of bills consent calendar. At the hour of 11:07 a.m. This requires a 2/3 majority. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. The Senate will take up those bills on the special order consent at the hour of 11:07. Special order to bills, second reading of bills, special order second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The motion is adopted, and the Senate will resolve itself in the committee of the whole for the consideration of special orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar, and Senator Marchman will take the chair.
I think I have to call on Dominic. Yeah.
Are we done?
The coat rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title of all the bills on the special orders, second reading of bills consent calendar?
Senate Bill 157, Senators Coleman and Baisley, Representatives Martinez and Sharbini, concerning the continuation of the Offender Reentry Grant Program and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations in the Department of Regulatory Agencies 2022 Sunset Report. Senate Bill 159, by Senators Hinrichsen and Pelton. B, Representative Bazenaker and Lindsay, concerning the continuation of the Colorado Food Systems Advisory Council and in connection therewith extending the sunset date by 7 years. Senate Bill 160, Senators Fields and Winter F., Representatives Mabry and Lynch, concerning the continuation of the Community Crime Victims Grant Program and in connection therewith implementing the recommendations of the 2022 Sunset Report on the Community Crime Victims Grant Program by the Department of Regulatory Agencies. Senate Bill 163, Senators Will and Representatives Judah and Lynch, concerning the classification of certain employees of the Division of Parks and Wildlife who are certified by the Peace Officers Standards and Training Board as state troopers for the purpose of determining public employees' retirement association service retirement eligibility and benefits. Senate Bill 250 by Senators Mullica and Kirkmeyer, Representatives Byrd and Catlin, concerning a 2023-24 state fiscal year transfer from the Severance Tax Operational Fund to the Capital Construction Fund for use by state-supported institutions of higher education in energy-impacted counties and making an appropriation. Senate Bill 257, Senators Bridges, concerning funding for auto theft prevention programs. House Bill 1022, Representatives Froelich and Weinberg, Senators Bridges and Rich, concerning registration of fleet vehicles that are part of rental vehicle fleets and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for the passage of all the bills listed on the second reading special orders consent calendar and their associated committee reports, which include Senate Bill 157 and the associated Judiciary Committee report, Senate Bill 159 and the associated Agricultural and Natural Resources and Appropriations Committee reports, Senate Bill 160 and the associated Health and Human Services Committee report, Senate Bill 163 and the associated Finance and Appropriation Committee reports, Senate Bill 250 and the associated Appropriations Committee report, Senate Bill 257 and the associated Appropriations Committee report, and House Bill 1022.
Is there any discussion on the committee reports? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the committee reports on the special orders second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it and the committee reports are adopted. Is there any discussion on any of the bills on the consent calendar? The motion before the body is the adoption of all the bills on the special orders second reading of bills consent calendar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The committee will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 157 is amended. Senate Bill 159 is amended. Senate Bill 160 is amended. Senate Bill 163 is amended. Senate Bill 250 is amended. Senate Bill 257 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1022 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, 3 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bills 23-157 is amended, 159 is amended, 160 is amended, 163 is amended, 250 is amended, 257 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Also, House Bill 23-1022 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Special order is second reading of bills. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate take up Senate Bill 99 on special orders second reading at the hour of 11:15 a.m.
The motion that the Senate take up Senate Bill 99 on special orders at the hour of 11:15. This requires a 2/3 majority vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion is adopted. The Senate will take up Senate Bill 99 on special orders at the hour of 11:15. Special orders, second reading of the bills. Senator Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of special orders, second reading of bills.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The Senate will resolve itself to the Committee of the Whole for consideration of special orders. Second reading of the bills, and Senator Marshman will take the chair.
Are we on 90? Yeah, 99.
The committee will come to order and the coat rule is relaxed. Will the clerk please read the title to SB 99?
Senate Bill 99, Senators Zenzinger and Kirkmeyer, Representatives Kipp and Frizzell, concerning funding for special education services.
Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 99 and the Appropriations Committee report.
To the committee report.
We adopted the appropriation.
Is there any discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The report is adopted. To the bill. Senator Zenzinger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is a pretty special day. What this bill does is it increases the required annual appropriation to the Department of Education by an additional $40,203,671. Why so specific? $40,203,671. It's to fund children who have one or more disabilities and receive special education services from a school district board of cooperative services, a charter school network, a charter school collaborative, or the State Charter School Institute that is providing educational services to exceptional children. Members, back in 2006, we established a two-tier special education funding scheme where we divided special education services up into two categories. All students with an IEP, an individual education plan, also known as a special education student, are classified as Tier A. And in the formula, once upon a time, back when I was first starting off in the legislature, that Tier A appropriation was $1,250. Last year, we passed a bill where we increased that appropriation to Tier A from $1,250 to $1,750. So every special education student gets an additional $1,750 in order to help support their needs. There is a subset of students. The subset of students that comprise Tier B are made up with students with multiple disabilities or a visual impairment including blindness, or a hearing impairment including deafness, or the deaf-blind, a serious emotional disability, a student who is on the autism spectrum, a student who has a traumatic brain injury, multiple disabilities, or an intellectual disability. Those students, as we said back in 2006, were supposed to receive $6,000 additional in order to support their learning needs. Unfortunately, the state of Colorado has come up short for years. Last year, we made a significant investment into special education services, but it only brought us up to 72% of what we should be paying our school districts in order to help educate, fully educate our special education students in this state. The bill that you have before you, the $40 million and some change, is what will finally close the gap for special education funding in the state of Colorado. It has only taken us 16 years, almost 20. It feels like it's been 20 years to get this right. And so for those reasons, I would encourage your aye vote today.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief. For the last 2 years or almost now, the good senator from Arvada and I have been on a mission to have this General Assembly keep their promise from 2006. I urge an aye vote. It's time we keep our promise.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of SB 99. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the bill is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion before the committee is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report.
Senate will come to order. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and considered a bill. Will the clerk please read the report?
Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 99 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered and engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for adoption of the report.
The motion is adoption of committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 2399 is amended, passed on second reading, and ordered engrossed, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Announcements. Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over consideration of House amendments to Senate bills to Monday, April 3rd.
The motion is to lay over amendments to House amendments to Senate bills until Monday, April 3rd. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will lay over House amendments to Senate bills to Monday, April 3rd. Now, announcements. Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is the 558th Friday since my son Alex was murdered in the Aurora Theater Massacre on July 20th of 2012. And I'm just going to pause here because when I speak in front of hostile environments, I generally have to write everything down because of the anxieties I deal with, the sadness, the anger that just comes jutting at me all the time. I always worry that I'm not going to get everything out properly. So during the week, I decided what I was going to talk about today. Something came to me that I should talk about this. I wear these bracelets on my wrist every day. And it's not your fault, but I come in today and there's a bracelet on my desk to remind, and I'll have to find out from Senator Marchman who this is and what this means. But quite frankly, he's with me every single day. He makes sure that I know that he's there, and he must have reminded me, Dad, this is the perfect time to tell them about my bracelet, because someone else is going to bring one in. It's going to be on all their desks, and they'll be able to see what it is. And that's what we did. In the first week, we ordered these rubber bracelets, and when everybody would come to the house, we would give them to them, and we had to reorder more and all of that. And I say that because I've been coming here for nearly 10 years, and very seldom does anybody ever ask me about the bracelets that are on my wrists. And there's a couple of people don't notice. They either don't care or they know that it could be painful to maybe me or to you to hear what they are. So I just wanted to tell, I've got one here from the Newtown Action Alliance. This is a group that I go to Washington, D.C. with. This is from parents from Sandy Hook who helped fund this, and they have a yearly vigil. I have one here from Aurora Rise. This is a group from the comic book industry that has raised over $80,000 and given it to survivors and victims from the theater. Of course, here I have Alex's that has been on my wrist since that day, and I will never, ever take it off. I have one here that Erica Lafferty gave to me. She is the daughter of Dawn Hawkspur, who was the principal at Sandy Hook, who was murdered when she ran towards the killer. Her and I were riding on a bus in Indianapolis on our way to the NRA convention, and she took this off of her wrist and gave it to me, and I put it on mine. Richard Martinez's son, Chris Martinez, was killed in the Isla Vista massacre. I certainly remember the day that I first saw Richard on TV. He was the bearded, very loud man who was talking about his son's murder and continues to advocate for it. Colin's mom, he took his own life with a firearm, and she gave me this orange one here, and that I remember. And orange is the color for gun violence, and so I remember everybody who's in that. And I was at an event, and a young man told me about running through a concert site in Las Vegas, getting out of the way of bullets and seeing his friends being murdered and taken down. And he pulled this bracelet off of his wrist and gave it to me, and I put it there. I have in my office the cross that Greg Zanuck made for Alex, along with the other 11, and I have it sitting in my office. And in my office, I have dozens of more of these that have been given to me. I can't wear them all at one time, and I have them wrapped around, and Alex keeps an eye on them for me. So if there's others out there, and obviously they still do it, if the kids at East High are doing something like this, please bring one down for me. If there's anybody else out there who does this and wants me to remember and know about the death that they've experienced, please share these with me. But that's why I wear these, and will wear these every day for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Senator Gardner.
Thank you, members. I have a very, very important announcement, the formation of a new caucus, and I'm looking for a caucus member from across the aisle. The caucus will be known as the We Could Be Done Today caucus. And I'm thinking we should plan some activities every few days, maybe once a week, to encourage the belief and the idea, the very real idea, that we could be done today. So thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Gardner. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to let folks know we will almost certainly have an appropriations meeting on Thursday next week. Friday, we have some good news on that very Good Friday that we will not be here. We will be, potentially, those of us who do, celebrating the good news. So we will have an appropriations committee hearing on Thursday.
Senator Kolker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll join that caucus next Friday. We're going to meet then, right? Just wanted to make sure I'm following the rules based on Rule SR 31F, page 82. Introductions of guests on the floor of the Senate is limited to immediate family members. Members, my wife and 2 daughters are here, Tara, Lydia, and Caroline, on spring break. So I'm following the rules. Thank you.
Any additional announcements? Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Seeing no further announcements, I move that the Senate recess until 12 p.m. today. Colleagues, you are free to go. There is no further business. We're just reading bills across the desk.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will recess until 12 p.m. today.